the words that the STEP Centre bandies around most is the concept of framing. And in this talk I want to talk about what framing is and why it matters. And the starting point is that the world is in fact a very complex place. So whether we're looking at agricultural strategies or energy strategies or water infrastructures or waste management options, the ways in which the different social and technological and environmental aspects of the problem interact with each other are very complex. And it's not self-evident how we should look at the world. And so what generally happens is a particular perspective is taken on what is the problem, what's going to be the focus of the problem. So for instance, in the context of trying to decide what would be the best agricultural strategies for a given region, then we might focus on a particular part of that region or a particular crop within it that might be followed, and we make that the focus, and then we explore that in relation to assumptions about the general environment, social environment and the natural environment and so forth. The point is though that people are both part of the complex reality we're looking at, and they are the things doing the looking. So society appears on both sides of this diagram. It's part of the object and it's also the subject doing the looking. And so the way in which different local people will look at the problem will typically differ. Whether you're men or women, highland or lowland, rich or poor, you can typically get a different answer to the question of what would be the best way of looking at the world and what would be the best pathway to pursue in trying to deal with a given problem. So what this diagram shows is just that the same world can be looked at in different ways under different framings, and the picture of what pathway to pursue will look different depending on how that's looked at. Now, why this matters is that it's usually the case in any given setting that the appearance that there's only one self-evidently good pathway to follow is simply a reflection of there's a strong voice out there dominating the way in which the assessments will take place, and that voice is the one that determines what appears to be the way forward, and that's a phrase we often hear in politics. But this obscures the fact that actually there are a whole series of different ways of looking at the world, different ways of framing the problem and the solutions, which get missed out in this way. So that's why it's so important to be systematic and careful and respectful about collecting and exploring the different ways of framing an issue, and especially paying attention to the views and the knowledges of the most marginalised and excluded people who often are the ones who stand to be most affected.